This job does not come with a cash register. When she became the supervisor, she was feeling herself. She was feeling herself when she became the mayor. Tiffany came by my house with a caravan with police cars, sirens, ringing my bell, asking my tenants, was I at home? And next thing I know, you have 6:30 in the morning, all type of rounds was flying, and actually some of the rounds was in my yard, and a couple of cars got shot up. My tenants' cars got shot up.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk to you. And I know you were at the special trustees meeting earlier this evening. I'm sure we're going to talk about that as well. But for those who are not familiar, can you start sharing a little bit about your journey and what led you to become a trustee in Dolton?
I've been involved in politics my whole adult life. I moved out here in Dolton in 2001. And when I moved out here, we had a unique situation. We had Mayor Shaw, which was the mayor, and he was also just a senator. And I knew him from the city of Chicago, along with his brother. And so when I came out here, I've always been active in my community. So I came out here and became a precinct captain. So I was a precinct captain for many years. And after Mayor Shaw died, I had some of my organization to ask me to run for mayor, and that was in 2012. So I ran for mayor, and unfortunately, the people lost. And we ended up with the prior mayor that was sitting in the seat before Tiffany.
Right.
And so he came to me in 2000, I believe it was 2015, and asked me to run on his ticket for a trustee. So I ran and I won. And unfortunately, I disagreed with a lot of things that he was doing because it wasn't for the best interest, I should say, of the residents of Dolton. And I sat on the board with Tiffany.
Yes.
And at that time, I didn't like a lot of things that she was doing. She had a lack of knowledge of what the job of a trustee was. And she also didn't like a lot of things that he was doing. So fast forwarding, she decided to run for mayor. As a matter of fact, I had sat down with her and asked her, to rethink that because quite obviously she wasn't ready for that seat. As we can see today, she wasn't ready.
Thinking about it now, could you imagine how unready or how ill-equipped she is doing what she's doing? Like, could you imagine the extent? Or when you first initially thought, and I guess we could talk about it right now, your initial thoughts about Tiffany Henyard when she was a trustee and like trying to have, I guess, aspirations to become mayor. What was the red flags? Was it just a lack of experience? What did you notice that you thought she probably should not run for mayor?
A lack of experience as a trustee and not being familiar with the political arena. I should say, to get the job done. And you have to have individuals, surround yourself with the right individuals that actually could teach you and guide you and mold you in a right direction to go. And her first order of business, and I want to say this, I never voted for her.
Right.
When the primary, I didn't vote for. The general election, I wrote my own name in. And she immediately went and got the clerk, the former clerk, Dorothy Brown, to run the day-to-day operation as the administrator. And that was a big red flag because Dorothy had issues of her own. She was in a legal battle. And in order to do this job, you have to be sensitive to the needs of the people.
Right.
This job does not come with a cash register. And so Dorothy was being Dorothy. I recall when the budget first came out, when Dorothy was sitting there as the administrator, I asked her personally for a copy of the budget so I could look over the budget as a resident of the village of Dolton. And she wouldn't even give me a copy. I had to sit in a room for 3 hours, but I was determined because I wanted to know where our tax dollars were going.
Right.
We have one of the largest tax brackets for property taxes in the state of Illinois. And we don't have a lot of big name businesses. This is a food desert. So we have to be very mindful of how we spend our money.
Right.
And the first red flag, I think when Tiffany did her inauguration and billed that to the residents, $15,000 for an inauguration at a park, just so she could spotlight herself. Unheard of. Normally, and through my experience being in the political arena for many, many years, how can I say that? Normally one sponsor their own inauguration, not on the backs of the people. So that was my first red flag. And notwithstanding Dorothy Brown. Yep. And the residents and myself also boycotted the village. We had a press conference and we asked that Tiffany get rid of Dorothy Brown. And so I think 6 or 8 months into the job, Dorothy left.
She wasn't fired.
Dorothy left.
Okay.
And I have to talk about 2 books. You have the Municipal Code, which is the guideline in which the way the village is supposed to be ran. And because we are home rule, because we have under 25,000 residents. So therefore, we are considered a village. And the Municipal Code book is one of the guidelines, along with Robert's Rules of Orders, in which you're supposed to govern the village along with your ordinances and your resolutions. And Tiffany didn't adhere to any of that. Still doesn't. May I say this?
Sure.
The way she talked to the trustees and some residents like they're lower than whale shit. So imagine if a whale shit, how deep would it go? And even if you don't agree with the residents and the trustees, you should never be in a public official address the trustees like she do. Unheard of in my 40 some odd years being in politics.
So this is totally a Henyard phenomenon, because a lot of viral videos, usually it's the interactions between her and the trustees that don't agree with her, how nasty she can be, how aggressive she can be. Even the past, like you're saying, the past situations where they had some similar situations with withholding certain types of information. This is unheard of. Like, her behavior is something you haven't experienced.
Correct. I've never seen anything like it in my life. The Nino Brown just blew me away, and I think at first when she was out here passing out chitlins, cooked chitlins, can you imagine somebody coming to your door with a small cup of chitlins in a little soup cup, passing them out, talking about these are for my residents? That was crazy. But I recall an incident when she was a trustee sitting at the board meeting. She came with some raffle tickets and some Christmas wreaths, and she wanted to raffle them off at a board meeting. And the former mayor told her, "You can't do that." I mean, who does that? Nobody. So that too in itself was a red flag. Knowing how government actually works. She have actually learned more since she's been the mayor about government, even though she don't adhere to the rules, than the 4 years when I was sitting up at the village hall with her as a trustee.
In terms of her attitude of being the self-promoting, more for herself than the people, you saw that as a trustee. And when she was a trustee, before she became the mayor, that I don't know, use that term, self-aggrandizing. I am special. I help, but it seemed like it was all about her promoting herself rather than serving the public, serving the residents of Dolton.
That came after she became, I believe, the Thornton supervisor, Thornton Township supervisor.
Mhm.
When, her head completely just blew up and, when she became the supervisor. She was feeling herself. She was feeling herself when she became the mayor, but really when she became Thornton Township supervisor.
I mean, you've already been describing it, but your working relationship with Henyard and how it evolved from you were able to talk and even be honest and say, I don't think you're ready, to where we're going to be talking about later on of some of these allegations. Where did it go? Did it just go south very quickly? Like you said, you noticed some red flags, but how would you describe that working relationship as it did, I guess you could say, deteriorated over time?
We did a project, and it was called. Had a program where you can apply for houses and rehab them, and you have to qualify with $35,000. And Tiffany initially agreed to this, and then she flipped the script and said that she wasn't for the program because, to my understanding, she went to BP Capital and asked that she gets 10 houses. And he politely told her that she could not do that because he had a contract with the village of Dolton to rehab the houses and put them back on the tax roll. And so she changed her mind and just kept talking about the block by block program that she wanted to implement, but she couldn't get the votes from the board to implement that program. And she'll say that the houses only needed some paint, which was an untruth. Also, I have to talk about Miss Smith, and her case should be coming up shortly, where this young lady and her 2 kids lived in one of Tiffany's houses. And allegedly, the house was full of mold, and the young lady and her kids got sick. And the village of Dolton put her up in a hotel. The former mayor was talking about having Tiffany to pay her hotel bill because the house was uninhabitable. And who would do that to some children? And remind you, she was getting government funds for that rental property, the Section 8.
Through Section 8. Got you.
Right.
So she's a slumlord. She's a
absolutely.
She was, and this was a few years ago.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I think there may have been a news video, like either I forgot which news entity, but I think they discussed that. And I remember they tried to interview her, ask her about like how you're keeping the conditions of this property. And she's like, I'm not talking, I talk to my lawyer, that kind of thing.
Right.
But that's a slumlord. Slumlord is someone that doesn't maintain the property that they are getting paid to have. And a mold is extremely damaging to not just anybody to have that. So that's a slumlord, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another
red flag, she had a burger joint, Good Burger in Calumet City that went under. She couldn't maintain that. So that closed up. Then she got a food truck. And my opinion, that was deplorable. I went actually on the truck and saw, the conditions of the truck, and I would not serve that to anybody. And because she was part of Thornton Township Zuccarelli organization, she ended up getting a contract with South Suburban College, and she didn't pay the rent and was asked, matter of fact, she wrote a check that was insufficient funds. So eventually they put her out. That's the bottom line. South Suburban College put her out. So given her track record of how you spend your own money and conduct your own business, how in the world can you manage a village that bring in $23 million a year and you can't manage your own? None of this is surprising. I can
a pattern of behavior, or at least a pattern of how you handle your business. It's like I said, getting a bigger checkbook, it's not going to work if you can't handle your own finances. Like you're saying, it's like a pattern of failed business dealings, unethical behavior, it's, I guess, like you're saying, it's not a surprise that we are where we are with her.
Right.
So I know you're talking about Dorothy Brown as the village administrator, and then it went from that to Keith Freeman. It just seemed like it was just, is it from bad to worse?
Bad to worse.
Yeah. And just, if you can talk a little bit more about Keith Freeman, because I think not enough attention is on Keith Freeman. The more I get to know more about him and checking out some of the stuff, this is a really good content created by the individual investor, dropped some really good videos, really researched on I don't know, he called it a hedge fund. It wasn't a hedge fund. Finding ways, just like Tiffany, to take from public office rather than public office. You're supposed to serve. You're supposed to help the residents. It seemed like he was trying to take, and I think he found, or at least he tried to use the public office as a business opportunity. But you obviously are more intimate with the situation. Tell me what you think, or what's going on with Keith Freeman.
Same thing. Lately, it have came out that he have filed for bankruptcy. He only reported Thornton Township salary. He didn't report Dolton salary. So, that's a red flag right there. And then given the type of money that he's making from both entities, why do you have to file for bankruptcy? Mm-hmm. You're not paying a car note because you're driving one of the Tahoes.
Expensive Tahoe.
Exactly. So, and I don't know exactly where this guy came from, but to my understanding that his track record have been bad, prior to coming to Dolton. And the trustees actually voted to hire him upon him bringing in his credentials and that they do a background check. That background check have not been done as of today to check his background. And I think if they would have insisted on it, getting the information, they wouldn't have voted to hire this guy. And what really blew my mind is he was hired as the administrator. And to my understanding, and I could be wrong, but I can't get a FOIA request in to get this answer. Did he change his employment status from village administrator to a 1099? And is he a 1099 with benefits? Do he get medical benefits from the village of Dolton?
You have no idea if that's happening or not.
I have no idea. Can't get a FOIA, no one to do a FOIA. Give me a FOIA on that one. Mm. And if he's making this type of money with the village of Dolton, why is he driving a village vehicle with gas? And I wanted to know that. Did the contract include the Tahoe with gas?
You should know. As a resident, you should know if because that's where your money is to. So you definitely should know if that's happening. And there's a big distinction between the W-2 and that 1099, because most 1099s don't provide you with nice Tahoes with the gas or health benefits. I mean, just talking about the Solo app, DoorDash driver does not have access to a car. It's their own car, their own gas. And that's important to know if you, like I said, dealing with public servants, what's going on there. And it looks like he keeps slapping down those FOIA requests. What were the other people, the other officials, trustees? I know you had to navigate through this, maintaining your responsibilities, maintaining your integrity. How was everyone else in that environment? How were they dealing with the situation? There was an immediate, this is Tiffany's side and everyone else's side. Like how that dynamic worked?
Well, I looked at Stan Brown.
Yes.
Okay. And nobody mentioned Stan Brown. Stan Brown, not only is he a trustee for the village of Dolton, he also works for Thornton Township, and his wife works for Thornton Township. Mm. So quite naturally, because they're bringing in that type of income, he's going to vote on everything she say and say that he was just riding the bike. Andrew Holmes' friend works for the village of Dolton. Andrew Holmes really need to be looked at because he does not have a stake in the village of Dolton. He don't pay, not to my knowledge, any property taxes. The prior mayor bought him in to get rid of myself and two other former trustees because, like I stated earlier, the job does not come with a cash register. And we were doing the same thing to him that the trustees did tonight with the resolution for the mayor to be investigated. Because somehow they think that this job come with a cash register, and it doesn't.
It comes with the benefits of that pool of money and how they can divvy it up to help each other and obviously themselves. So I guess we could talk about, the fact that you were not able to maintain your seat. And I'm assuming because you was addressing these disagreements, you were kind of letting people know like this is not right. So I was wondering like how that went. Was it the fact that you wasn't on Henyard's team? She had to find a way to get you to leave. Is that a perfect way of kind of putting it together?
Well, it was actually the prior mayor that bought Andrew Holmes because he had the name recognition. He's an advocate in the city of Chicago. And I think I'm using the wrong term, but, he's out there and he had the name recognition in the city of Chicago. So he bought him out here to run against myself and two other trustees because we, found out that he was doing some unscrupulous stuff also.
Okay.
But so Tiffany is 50 times, a million times worse than he was.
Right. But it doesn't surprise you that those are kind of elements that she's bringing to her circle. Everyone with a lot of unethical history, I guess to say it lightly, that she's able to kind of bring in also, like you said, everyone has either another person working, and that's a conflict of interest because you can't vote honestly. You can't serve honestly when you know that certain things are being taken care of for you. It puts you in a position where you're controlled or what have you. But let's get into the events that you talked about in a New York Post article, and a lot of videos talking about the targeting. I mean, as you think about it right now, like, can you walk us through the steps it got from, like I said, you being critical of the mayor to this situation happening? Like, can you walk us through that?
Yes. It actually started when she hired Lavelle Redmond, and I'm all for giving a person a second chance in life, but when it came to the alleged, well, it really wasn't alleged, the crime that he was convicted on, and myself being a former Cook County sheriff for the Department of Corrections for over 30 years, I thought it was the wrong thing to do to give him a badge and a car to go in and out of people's homes. And I'm sure that was not a part of his condition when he was released to, go into certain places. And she could have easily placed him over in Public Works as opposed to doing that. And I spoke out against that along with other residents. And she didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so therefore, that's when it started. And along with when the residents wanted to do a recall, I was very instrumental in helping with the recall. And unfortunately, that didn't work. The courts deemed it unconstitutional or, some technicalities. And so, and because I was very vocal, the harassment started there also when I called, because I'm retired, mind you, have absolutely nowhere to go unless I want to. That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
But I'm still active in the community, and I look out for my neighbors and they look out for me. So I called Public Works and shot them also an email asking that they come through our alley and plow the snow because we live on a snow route. You can't park in the front. And I didn't know Nakia. I didn't know Nakia at that time.
Yeah, a former chief of staff.
Right. And she answered the phone and she called me back and asked me, could I go outside? And I'm wondering, why do they want me to go outside when I'm just asking for the alley to be plowed so the residents can get through the alley? Unbeknown to me, Tiffany pull up. And that's when she started talking about her haters. Well, I'm at Valeria Stubbs' house. She called and asked me for help. See, I even helped my haters. At no time did I ever call her for anything, And so I went to a board meeting, the following board meeting, and told her, that she was lying on me. And then the recall happened that summer. I wasn't at home. Tiffany came by my house with a caravan with police cars, sirens, ringing my bell, asking my tenants, was I at home? She had public works workers out there. So again, I went to another board meeting and I asked her, what did she want? She sat up there with mouth, tight lips, like when the newsman asked her, did she go to Vegas?
Yes.
And she said, absolutely nothing. And I asked her and told her that I wanted it on record. Do not come by my house ever again in life. You have no business to come by my house. And what did she want? So she said nothing.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, you have 6:30 in the morning, all type of rounds was flying. And actually, some of the rounds was in my yard and a couple of cars got shot up. My tenants' cars got shot up. One got shot up 9 times. The other one had 2 rounds in it. And all I have to say is Tiffany is suspect. I don't put anything past her. I don't put anything past the police because of the way they are out here. And Chief Collins said that she was trying to get him to target certain people too.
Now let's talk about that more, because I think if you're not from where you are and have been involved as much and you're not outside looking in, when you see that headline, you're like, that can't, okay, she's probably, this mayor is incompetent and greedy, maybe narcissistic, but maybe it won't go to that level. But, me spending some time just learning what you guys are dealing with the police, there's a lot of unethical behavior, criminal behavior coming from some of these people from the cops. So talk about that. So for people who are not familiar with the Dolton police and how some of them, or at least many of them, are following some of these intimidation tactics from the mayor.
Okay, we will go to a board meeting. Her boyfriend, she said it was her boyfriend, her man, Kamal, I don't recall his last name. He'll stand in the back of the room and he would, what you call mean mug, the residents that's not for us.
Right.
He also, I've went out to my car and he have came outside of a board meeting and I'm sitting in my car and stood in front of my car. I guess he was trying to intimidate me or whatever the case may be. I've never seen at a board meeting where she had fake police. They called themselves, I'm going to tell you in a minute. They were actually security guards that said that they were Homeland Security.
They said they were Homeland. They said that
they were Homeland Security. Their uniform said Homeland Land Security. Wow. So by me being a retired Cook County Sheriff, the following day I went over to the real Homeland Security office to report them that they were perpetrating to be the real Homeland Security.
That's a crime, right? To impersonate an officer? Yeah.
Yeah. And the only thing they had was, I think they had tasers on them. And they were intimidating us, myself included, telling us to be quiet or we're going to have to leave. And because we was opposing what Tiffany and how she was talking to the trustees. They also was warning us down for weapons to make sure that we didn't bring no weapons in, but people that were supporting her, they didn't search them.
Wow.
So and this is an intimidation tactic. You had one lady that was brought in some signs. Matter of fact, I think it was Lacey. It was Lacey that made the lady, the resident, give him the signs. That's her right if she want to hold up a sign.
Right.
So he was in violation of her civil rights.
Yeah, it's like you said, total intimidation, total control. It don't seem like Tiffany Henyard is able to handle criticism. Is
Absolutely.
not able to handle, because that's public office, right? You know, you kind of have to take the heat when you have these meetings where the residents may be upset at you, and you don't take it personal. And it seems like even for you, I think even when you were critical of her hiring decisions and the crime, I'm not exactly what the crime was with that individual that she hired, but he definitely should be on the registry if that's the crime. I think that's the crime. He's probably on the registry. He probably should not be in homes with children. So like these kind of elements, if someone says, hey, you shouldn't do that, it's not a personal attack. It's you're doing a job, but you're doing it in a way that's not safe for everyone else. But it seems like she takes everything personal. What was your first reaction when you realized, when you even did, like, what was your first reaction?
I actually thought it was coming from another block. I had no idea that it was behind my house, in my yard. And I'm like, wow, but in the times in which we live in, you can't be surprised. And then you look at the type of individuals that she associates herself with, and if she is giving them houses, if she's giving them jobs, and it's unfortunately because I believe I went to a board meeting and expressed to all of them that God will supply all your needs. You don't have to bow down to man. You have not because you ask not, and I even asked her at the last board meeting that she turned the mic off of several of us residents, that is what she's doing. Is it pleasing to God? So of course, she never answered. And when William Moore get up there to pray, I sit down because he did. I knew before Jason, and I was so proud of Jason.
Yeah, don't pray for me.
Don't pray for me.
I hear that. Okay, so what steps did you take immediately after that situation? I mean, I'm sure that you try to figure out, was there any developments? Was there something that happened in the neighborhood that maybe that could answer to that situation of, because that's usually, in New York City, I'm sure everywhere across the country. If there's shootings, it's a big deal. Cops are basically taping up as much as they can. They'll hang out there for days on end, trying to figure out what happened if there's a shooting. That's a big deal. So I was wondering, in your situation, this happens. Did you go to the police? What do they say? Like, break us down. Like, what happened immediately after that situation?
It was a lady that was on the front of my house waiting for the bus. She was terrified. So I actually told her, I'll stand here with you until the bus comes. And she pointed to the back, that the shots was coming from the back. So once she got on the bus, I went around to the back because I called the police, and the police said somebody had already called. I go in the back of my into my parking lot, and I see all the police still unaware that the cars had been shot up. And I'm thinking that they, looking for whatever the case may be, down the street, down the alley, and come to find out it was in my own backyard. They asked for footage, and unfortunately, one of my cameras wasn't working, but my neighbor's cameras caught it. And so, I talked to the police. I asked them, when could I get a report? A couple of days went by. I asked again about getting a report. They told me that I couldn't get one.
Wow.
And that's unheard of too. So, because of the type of characters that she associates herself with, and anybody that dress up like Nino Brown with a fake dog,
right?
I don't put anything past them at all, period. Yeah, and I tell, the other residents to be careful. We had another incident where a resident had went to court for a ticket that she shouldn't have got. And on her way coming from court, the police pull her over. I don't know if you have the footage with.
I've looked at it, but you can explain it for those who haven't. I think I know what you're talking about. But
Marquita, I think that's her name, Marquita, and how she was terrified, even though she was concealed to carry. She was terrified to go in her purse to get her license. So she repeated her license number to Lacey and asked for him to send somebody else because she did not trust You have the incident with Alexis Wilson.
Yes.
That's out there. That still haven't been resolved. You have the young man that allegedly hung himself in Dolton police station. Nobody heard of what happened with that. You also had Miss Hill, that because of video that or something she said on Facebook, she was arrested and detained for 48 hours. Mm-hmm. So I don't put anything past Tiffany Henyard.
In the light of all of these events, most, or at least some can say, you know what? Why try to speak out? Because it's potentially a dangerous thing, and people could be intimidated and be afraid. But what keeps you outspoken? What keeps you going when you see these characters and how they're acting like they're in a mafia or acting like they're running some kind of dictatorship? What keeps you going, knowing that there's a lot of nefarious things are happening around you?
I believe in God. I trust in Him that He will protect me, and He will take my enemies and make them a footstool at my feet.
I hear that. You guys were able to go to the special trustee meeting, or as Tiffany Henyard called it, a secret squirrel meeting. There was a lot of people at this secret squirrel meeting. I mean, I saw it on Facebook. I saw a lot of people there. So, I mean, it didn't feel too secret. I saw some news vans. So tell us what was spoken about. What was the big talking points that came out of that meeting? Let us know what happened just a couple hours ago.
That the trustees passed a resolution to have Tiffany investigated by all entities, the FBI, the state's attorney's office, the IG's office. They passed a resolution and they named everything that she was doing as misappropriation of funds. The police officers that have made $13,000 in a pay period, taking the money, building tiny houses and ice rinks, and not receiving any revenue whatsoever for billing that. And it just goes on and on, closing businesses down. You had Dr. Scott. She was there talking about her business and how she couldn't get permits and how she couldn't get licensed. You had other business owners, one of them that was just shut down yesterday, Pablo's. Now, it wasn't Pablo's, it was the other one, Rinky's, that was shut down yesterday, and a lot of employees were now out of a job. They talked about that. The attorneys talked about they pay and how they haven't been paid forever, and how they was going to go into court and file lawsuits against Tiffany. And maybe if they stop filing personal lawsuits, because she can be sued on some of this stuff personally.
Yeah.
And maybe she'll get the message. But I really don't think she's going to get the message until she get them silver bracelets.
I hear that. But how are you feeling about the last couple of weeks and how things are going?
I need a vacation. But things have been great. You had the New York Post out here. You have had the news media out here. And, and I appreciate all of that, because it's a lot of people that think that this is a joke. And I must say this because they think that we are a destitute community, and we're not. We have a lot of professional people out here. We're not all making what they say, $20,000. We have people out here making six figures, over six figures. They have beautiful homes that want to maintain their homes. But, this criminal mayor, it's just unheard of. When I go to the store, people stop me because they recognize me and want to talk to me about her. And then they ask me about her parents. Where are her parents? I'm like, ma'am, I have no idea where her parents are.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. I've never seen anything like it. But, it's better than One Life to Live, As the World Turned, General Hospital, and all the other soaps.
All of them. Yeah, all of them, right?
Right. And I'm glad to hear that the FBI is out here. I want them to hurry up with this investigation and get the grand jury to indict this woman for spending all our tax dollars. And we really do. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you so much for shedding light on the rest of on us to the rest of the world, because people just wasn't hearing us. And we've been hollering about this for over 2 years.
I hear that. And I appreciate you for coming by. It's been an amazing conversation, really bringing a light to a lot of stuff that most of us probably did not know about. But I guess the last question I give you, what can be done for something like this to never happen again? I mean, is that possible? Is it, like you said, more of the background check? I guess the way she was elected was it wasn't normal, right? Like it was during the COVID stuff. Like when you think about how can we never get in that situation again, what goes through your mind? What ideas you have?
We as a people have to get involved in our community, because we don't. Mm-hmm. We have the lowest voters turnout. We don't get involved in our community, because if this was any other community, with other nationalities, they'd be out there in droves. And when we go to the board meeting, it's only a handful of us. Now, tonight's meeting was packed to capacity. Mm-hmm. So I guess people say enough is enough, but they will not come to a board meeting. And it might be that they're in fear of their life.
Yeah. Do you think the next board meeting, you think it'll be a lot of, people coming in finally showing, like you said, enough is enough?
I would hope so, but I don't know. And, and then she showed a 45-minute video of herself tooting her own horn. And because I have to leave, when she put the video on for movie hour, I cannot stay. I might come back, but I can't stay for the movie hour.
Is that every meeting she does that?
Every meeting.
Yeah, I usually, that's the bathroom break or the go out to go out to eat or something. But I appreciate you for coming by. It was such an insightful conversation. So thank you so much for coming through. You're always welcome to come by if you have more to say, more to express yourself. I'm sure we will definitely have a conversation later on, as hopefully we see accountability with Mayor Henyard and her cronies. But I appreciate you for coming by. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and you have a great evening.
You too. Thank you very much.
And God bless you for opening up your heart and listening to us.